Hello, and welcome to the inaugural edition of Inside Influence, the show where we talk to B2B marketing insiders to find out what's really working and what's not inside the world of B2B influencer marketing. Of course, I'm your host, Lee Odden, CEO and co-founder of TopRank Marketing, and today we're talking with none other than Rani, head of employee advocacy at Adobe. Now, among many other things, Rani manages the B2B Adobe Insiders program, which I'm very proud to be a member of. Welcome, Rani.
Hi, Lee. Thanks for having me.
It's great to see your shining, happy face again. I want to thank you, Rani, for your contributions and insights to the first ever State of B2B Influencer Marketing Research Report, which we published recently. And when you made those contributions, we talked about how influencer marketing provides companies, B2B brands, a competitive advantage. And I thought you shared some really compelling examples there, and we'll get into some of those in a little bit. But with your depth of experience running a successful influencer community at Adobe, I wanted to take some time to dig further into, the mind of a B2B influencer relationship and community building expert, which of course you are a great example of. So let's get into it. So in our research for the report, we surveyed hundreds of B2B marketers, and we found that 96% of those marketers that engage in influencer marketing consider their efforts to be at least moderately or very successful. And I'm curious, Rani, why do you think, or what do you think makes them feel so confident about working with influencers?
Well, I can speak for myself, Lee. We see the results, right? When I see the company, the trust people have in us go up because of our partnership with thought leaders like yourself and others. And when I see us being able to access audiences we normally wouldn't have access to, the results really speak for themselves. And I think results lead to confidence, and it's this one wonderful virtuous cycle, right? The more confident you are, the more experimental you get, and you take more risks, and when they pay off, more results come about, and then you get even more confident, and so away you go.
Yeah, I think one thing I've noticed is a lot of companies that are successful have made a commitment. They're not looking for sort of a flash in the pan or silver bullet type of marketing solution. They actually have dug into what role influence actually plays in terms of how a brand is perceived, and of course how you can connect with audiences you might not otherwise be reaching through people who do have the attention and respect of your customers. So yeah, it can certainly be very successful and has been for a lot of companies. I think we both...
So, like in everyday life, one of the best things I've heard was at my son's graduation when they said, "Show me your friends and I'll show you your future," right?
Wow.
So in a vein, for brands, you have to really be careful who you affiliate with, and your reputation is on the line, and so we take that super seriously.
Yeah, that's smart, because it goes both ways, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. Sure does.
I'm pretty sure we both know that influence can play an important role across the entire customer lifecycle, from advocacy to creating awareness, or vice versa, right? But it seems like a lot of marketers are focusing mostly on top of funnel. In our research, we found that 84% of B2B marketers that work with influencers are doing so to create brand awareness. So that's in alignment with this top of funnel idea. But 69% are counting on influencers to help them actually generate leads. I'm curious, from your perspective, what are some of the other outcomes that B2B brands can expect when they work with B2B influencers?
I'd say for us, at least, it's been thought leadership, right? In terms of getting some fantastic minds to tap into. You've got your pulse on what's happening with the community. You're able to anticipate what's coming out around the corner. So thought leadership is a fantastic outcome. I'd say reach of audience that you normally wouldn't reach is also a really, really nice benefit. And then something we've seen firsthand is crisis management, I'd say, reputation management, right? When folks are misconstruing who we are and what we stand for. It's so nice to have trusted advisors swoop in and save the day and explain what's happening in a way that's relatable and that's digestible for the everyday person. And it's so much more believable when it comes from a peer as opposed to an executive from the company or a branded channel of the companies, right? So reputation management, crisis management. So those are the three. Those are the three.
Okay. Oh, and those are great. Those are great because here now you've created a community or relationships with individuals who have similar values, and you're helping to achieve three really big objectives from a business perspective. And it's through relationships that you're powering a lot of that. It's
Right.
very, very compelling, I think.
Yeah.
You know, in the report, you mentioned that one of the ways that influencers help B2B companies create a competitive advantage is that they bring a heavy dose of freshness and creativity to the content that a business brand can produce. Could you share an example of that influencer creativity in action with Adobe?
Yeah, I've got so many, Lee. I'll choose like three or four. One is what we did a couple of years ago with you and your own company, TopRank, when we did this very unique and interactive digital storytelling around reimagining, reshaping the customer experience management future of CXM rather, and we
Yeah.
leveraged several brand personalities such as Anna Hanley and Jay Baer and Scott Monty and Shama Hyder. And so that was a very engaging piece of content that lives on today. In additionally, we just, what was it, 2 years ago, we went to New York. You were there with us for Advertising Week, and we had all of you insiders on NASDAQ, and we had you give your top challenges that advertising was facing. And you also gave predictions on what the future of advertising would look like. And that was super compelling because not only did it produce wonderful wisdom for the industry, I think you had mentioned what a fabulous experience it was for the individuals going through it. So it was a total win-win,
Yeah,
right? And
it was great. Not only did we get to visit, you know, obviously we're in New York, which is an amazing city. Got to go to NASDAQ. I got to see Giselle Abramovich, who I haven't seen in many years. And of course we met
yep,
or saw each other on camera, which was amazing. So the content that Adobe facilitated not only helped support some of the ideas around customer or future of advertising and some of the other ideas that were important for Adobe and its communication with customers, but it also created really great content for the influencers to share, something they could be proud to be a part of.
yes, on your own channels, exactly. And then a couple of individual examples, Lee, is we know our good friend and colleague, Abhijit Baduri. He is one of our
Very
leadership
talented.
out of India, and he does these fantastic, visually compelling sketch notes when he does his content. And it's a really wonderful way to get through thought leadership content. And it really cuts through the clutter that's out there digitally, right? It stands out. Similarly, Kathleen Hessard and her Gen Z group, they do a lot of infographics, chock full of memes and emojis that really speak to that generation and very fun and playful. So Adobe's benefited from a lot of fresh creative content from all of you, for sure.
Well, it's impressive to see, and you know, to see, you know, quite a few of the insiders are columnists, and they're writing, you know, stories organically about Adobe in business publications, and they want to, they want to do that. They're stories they feel compelled to tell, and they do it organically, and that is really a true testament of a strong influencer community.
I mean, Lee, it's almost criminal that I get paid for this job, right? Like when I think of my peers in the industry and how hard they have to work, I feel like this group and the iconic nature of the Adobe brand just makes it so easy. It comes so naturally, and we're very, very blessed. Very blessed.
So with the pandemic and so many other pretty remarkable events happening socially, politically, even environmentally right now, some might say we should pause marketing activities like working with influencers. Or do you think there's some unique benefits to working with influencers right now over other marketing tactics?
Oh, whatever you do, don't pause, because the field is ripe right now. Because I think I heard someplace that the social media usage has gone up by 61% as of March, and which just shows how much we as humans are craving connection and entertainment and some source of hope and light and new thoughts and ideas, and our influencers provide that, right, in a very authentic, relatable, trustworthy way. And so and again, because of how much more relatable and trustworthy influencers, i.e. peers of consumers, are versus brands, this is the time to lean in more than ever. More than ever.
Absolutely. You know, and two, if you think about B2B, you mentioned 61% a social increase, social usage increase. And B2B, you know, because of the environment that we're in, our new normal, you don't have field marketing activities or real world events as much, or outside sales even, to rely on as much. So what can we do? And you know, I'm seeing a lot of B2B brands literally asking the question, what can we do instead of events? I mean, they're partaking in some virtual events and that sort of thing, but what can we do to capture the attention of our customers? What can we do to create experiences for them? And some of those brands are thinking, well, let's work with influencers who have media creation skills. You know,
Yeah.
let's work with folks who can complement our existing marketing team with creative, fresh ideas like you are actively doing. And that's a way to cut through and get the attention, but in a trusted and authentic way, right? And it's something that they can use to drive, you know, outcomes that are just as powerful as maybe a real world event might be.
Very much so. And almost more powerfully, because it gives so many more people access, right?
Mm.
And that you're no longer confined to a certain number based on venue capacity. The sky's the limit when we're connecting digitally. It's not ideal, but there definitely are upsides to it.
Yeah, that's true. You know, we've talked several times in the past about the role of influence for B2B marketing. And in an interview we did on TopRank blog, you said that the main benefit of B2B influencer collaboration is that influencers help humanize a brand and capture the personality behind the logo, which I thought was really provocative. And I'm curious if you could share why you feel that's important and how you're working with influencers to help humanize the Adobe brand.
So, I mean, so much research out there really that says that people buy from people, not companies, right? And so
Bees are people too. The bees in B2B are people too, right?
that's right. That's exactly right. And so, because we so carefully vet our influencers based on values and your voice and who you are and what you do in the world, and does that line up well with our brand and our brand ethos? And because of that, right, to have you be evangelists and advocates for us, it puts a name and a face and a personality to the logo, and there's nothing like that, right? It really talks about, it brings to life who we are, and what we want to do in the world, what we are doing, what our intentions are. And
Mhm.
it's just a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing because we're no longer the nameless, faceless big
Yeah,
A, right? Big red A.
yeah.
We, you know, people have a sense of what is this company about because of the influencers we associate with, which makes it all the more important that we have such great alignment, which we do, which we
Yeah.
do. So.
Yeah, I think buyers or people in general, they're tired of mechanical marketing. They're looking for meaningful marketing. And when there's purpose behind your brand and you have authentic voices helping to communicate that purpose, and it's based on values alignment, like you say, what could be more powerful than that?
Well, the other thing is you're loyal to the person, right? There's nothing that I wouldn't do for Odden. In a way, I may not have that same loyalty to TopRank per se, right?
Right, right.
Similarly, I find that that's the case at Adobe, right? Like influencers will do for the individual people that they're working with who happen to be affiliated with Adobe. So it's that human emotive connection and loyalty. I think that's really the trick. Not a trick, but I mean, that's really the
I
best.
understand. That's the key.
Yeah, that's the key.
So there's a lot of upside to working with influencers, but I'm curious, what do you feel are some of the top challenges when working with B2B influencers?
That creative power struggle. And this is more, I chastise brands more than I do the influencers. I feel
Hmm.
like brands, and we've been there too, where the instinct is to try to micromanage and to leverage you as billboards and mouthpieces, and to be super prescriptive as to what we want you to do and say, which ultimately takes away from the authenticity and the whole purpose of engaging with influencers in the first place, because
Hmm.
we're engaging with you because you've got a very engaged, loyal fan base. You've got a followership that you have cultivated over the years that only you know how to communicate to. And then how dare we come in and to try to tell you what to do and how to do it, right? So I would say the key there is to give you some guidance and guidelines, and then step out of the way and let you do what you do best, which is work and communicate with your audience, right? Because again, their allegiance is to you, and the relationship is with you. So we need to be clear about what we are hoping for from this engagement as a brand, and then just really get out of the way and let you shine.
Well, certainly you've done with the Adobe Insiders community is a great example of that. Not only have you been able to create, you know, amazing connections with many of the most important and influential voices in the industry, but you've also created an environment where they are able to connect with each other, all in the context of the Adobe brand. And I'm curious, that's an impressive thing to do, because it's one thing for a brand to connect and create relationships with powerful voices, but it's another thing to do that and connect those voices with each other, because they feel a much greater sense of loyalty to the brand because you have made those additional connections. And I'm wondering if you're willing to share your secret sauce and how you've been able to make that happen with the Adobe Insiders group.
Yeah, don't leads really leaning into what makes your heart sing as an individual, right? Getting to know you. What are you trying to do in the world? How should I think of you? When should I think of you? And really, no differently than any kind of like a friendship or a dating scenario, right? It's a dating with an eye towards long-term commitment, right? So really, really try to figure out what's in it for you, so that I know when to think of you, how to think of you. And as I hear opportunities come up that other influencers are talking about, that I'm there to facilitate those connections, be that connective tissue. And I think I've shared with you before, I take more pride in the relationships that you all have with one another, more so than I do the relationships individually that you have with Adobe. Because ultimately, I know that for this group to stick together, you need to have a certain sense of a familial sense of one another, more so than any heroics with Adobe, right? Adobe just happens to be the positive kind of benefactor of it all.
Hmm.
And we happen to be in the room to help, cajole and facilitate. But the true magic is when you all connect. And so, I think it all starts with really leading into the relationship, and over rotating on what can we do for you? How can we bring you value? How can we uplift and elevate your voice and your work, right? Amplify you.
Yeah.
And like you said, when you do that, automatically people want to do back for you, right? Without
That's
even asking in many, many cases,
Yeah,
which is the
absolutely.
beautiful thing.
I
Yeah.
see that in action almost every day. Man,
Yeah.
that Twitter DM group is on fire every day.
Totally.
People connecting.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
let's talk about the future of B2B influencer marketing. What do you think will be a big change in 2021?
I think I really think the power is shifting, Lee, and I think individual influencers are taking more control and have the opportunity to be more selective and who do they do work with, what kind of work they do. And so I think you'll see a lot more influencers standing up for their creative freedom and their creative license. And I think you'll see less of this prescriptive micromanagement from brands that I was talking about before, because I think the high quality influencers simply won't stand for that anymore. You're
Mm,
not you've got expertise. You're not here as order takers, right? You're here
Right.
to collaborate, and you're here to co-create, and you're here to be thought partners, not to be puppets.
Yeah.
And so I love that. I love
Yeah.
that stance, and I feel that's the evolution that's going to happen. It's already underway, but I think it's going to go into full force as
Yeah.
we move past this pandemic and go into the future.
Yeah. I think the days of, okay, everyone go, during an event, go in this one room and let's all tweet so we get 100,000 potential impressions or something, you
Right,
know,
right.
kind of thing.
I
I
mean,
mean,
you never get away from, we want to make sure to top the charts with social
of course,
mentions and social conversations, right?
right,
There'll always be an undercurrent of that, but I think we are going to see far more creativity and,
right. It's going to be more
rewriting stuff.
effective when you're inspiring people to do a thing versus prescribing them to do a thing. The outcomes are very, very different, and
So
you're
true.
definitely inspiring. So there's a lot of up and coming talent in the B2B influencer marketing space, both influencers and people who work at brands like yourself. And I'm curious, who do you consider a rising star and why?
Yeah, no, Lee, we're very blessed with several of them in our own group. A few that I'll call out include Sophia Deva, a social entrepreneur who is the founder and CEO of This Same Sky, a purpose-driven company, a nonprofit. Um, Lee, let's do that again. She's not a
Okay,
nonprofit.
no worries. You know, there's a lot of talent that's up and coming in the B2B influencer marketing space. There are people who work at brands like yourself, but also influencers. I'm curious, who do you consider a rising star and why?
Lee, this is my favorite question of the world here because we've got so many of these rising stars within our own Adobe Insider group. I'll just call out a few. One being Sophia Deva, who is a social entrepreneur and the founder and CEO of This Same Sky, which is a company focused on reviving artisan products and communities around the globe. So she's a fantastic marketer that people should all know. Similarly, we've got Matthew Owen, who is a serial tech entrepreneur and a CTO, and he is really known for his problem solving, right? That's kind of his calling in life, is to problem solve. We've also got Miri Rodriguez, who is the global head of internship at Microsoft. And she's got this fantastic new book that's a instant bestseller. I can't even believe it. I think within 3 days it was topping all charts
Wow.
around brand storytelling and how emotive storytelling is the way of the current and future. We've got Vincenzo Landino, our good buddy who does video production, right? For video production work. He does new age PR, digital PR, and is just a master content creator and content marketer. And two others, I would say, just to round it out, we've got Carrie O'Shea Gorgon, who is a licensed lawyer, right? Not currently practicing, but what a fantastic background to have as you go into marketing. And she is a very renowned TV host and podcast leader, if you will, right? So, and then last but not least, Kathleen Hessard, who is the founder of We Are Gen Z, which is a 1,000-person group of teenagers, right, 13 to 22. And like I said, they're a think tank, they do surveys, and she and the group really educates brands like Adobe on how to market to and communicate with this amazingly powerful group of this generation, right? This generation of consumers who I believe Lee command like buying power of $44 billion
Wow.
annually. So not million, but billion with a B, right? And they make up 36% of our world's population. So we
Wow.
all need a clean in our back pocket. So these are some
Yes.
amazing folks that really should
Amazing.
be household names here pretty soon. So.
Oh, thank you for sharing those names. And yes, you're right. They are all amazing people. Um, So I really appreciate the time we've been able to spend together. You've shared some really interesting insights and some examples. You are a wealth of wisdom on this topic, and I hope we can continue to tap you once in a while for that wisdom to share. For people listening in and that would like to connect with you, what's the best way to connect with you online?
Lee, I'd say LinkedIn, just Rani Money at LinkedIn, and then Twitter, Rani Money 0707.
Okay. Well, fantastic. Well, thanks again, Rani. I really appreciate it. I'm so impressed with the work you've done with Adobe Insiders. Your leadership, not only with that group and that community, that family, is impressive, but also, you know, the thought leadership you bring to the B2B influencer marketing space is very much appreciated. And it's something I think a lot of people tuning in appreciate as well. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much. So, I'm so grateful to have joined you and have had this really interesting conversation. Thank you very much for having me.